Ah, no way. Okay, so I just recorded my whole stream without even pressing play. But I'm gonna go over it again just because I need to get this done. And I promised you guys a live stream, so I'm gonna do it. Um, all right, so try number two, psychedelics. I think this will be better, anyways. Okay, so psychedelics. Let's do it. What are we gonna go over today? What do we need to know? So today we're gonna be talking about. Let's see. Let's do this here. My experience with psychedelics, basically. We're gonna leave it at that. Who am I? Well, well, I'm lucid living. Just kidding. So basically, my experience is I've taken psychedelics for over like 4 years, 3 years. I've taken well over 10, 15 trips. I've tripped in a group setting. I've tripped solo, and it's been I've learned a lot and I've studied a lot and I've connected that with a bunch of different things, with meditation, with psychology, with Carl Jung. I always mention that man, but all these things so that I can create a comprehensive understanding of what's going on, basically in reality. So let's begin. So my experience with psychedelics is these are my stats. Like a player in the game. I solo tripped it about 5 times. Group tripped it around three. I've got it a few trips. I've taken LSD, DMT, magic mushrooms. I've done this through self study. I've learned it through myself, looked into it, picked up some books, and I've also experimented. Um, so let's continue. The reason I'm doing this is so that you can be a more knowledgeable, lucid person after this. Hopefully, you understand a little bit more about what's going on with psychedelics, with the basically the mechanics of your consciousness. And because when I started taking psychedelics, I was in university, so people don't really talk about psychedelics. At least when I was in university, I went to ASU. Um, they don't really talk about psychedelics too much, and I want to do it, and I want to do it from a point where I'm doing so that you can grow as a spiritual person. That's the main reason. And it is a taboo topic, and this is a channel for the taboo. So let's continue. So before moving on, psychedelics are very vast, and this is a disclaimer that I just want to give to people that this is just a very small chunk of knowledge. Like for you to be able to map out the universe, imagine how long it took to map out the Earth. Now imagine thinking about how long it will take for you to map out all the subsequent realities and the layers of the universe. We're talking 4D, we're talking everything in between 4D and 3D, um, etc. So this is what I've learned. You know, um, there's definitely more stuff out there, but I'm gonna give it to you from the point of view of I took psychedelics to grow spiritually. So hopefully you can learn a little bit more from that. And I have broken down some common components or some realizations that I feel you'll find helpful, and I'll be going through, basically aliens, space travel, group tripping, not telekinesis because I haven't experienced that, but telepathy. I meant to change that, telepathy, and then also other entities. We're gonna talk theories and also stories. So how I use psychedelics. First off, I do want to say that I'm not promoting the use of psychedelics. I feel like if I have to say that so I don't get in trouble, but also because I also don't take psychedelics anymore. Um, Anytime anybody asks me if I would want to trip, I always say I don't trip anymore because I don't find it as helpful anymore. But I'm gonna give you what I've learned based off that perspective, where like I don't feel like I need it. But here's my reasons for why I use them. I use it for introspection. I used to use them for spiritual growth. I use them for interspatial travel because that is a thing. It's called tripping. So you're going on a trip and it is an out of body experience. So that, and then also creativity. So psychedelics make you a more creative person. Okay. They basically allow you to connect the dots a lot quicker and in ways you wouldn't even imagine. So that's another reason I took it. I would take psychedelics. I mean, so DMT is the spirit molecule. I think whenever I looked into psychedelics, this was the main psychedelic that I was shown, or I heard about, and it's a very well known molecule, and it's pretty crazy how well it works. It's actually endogenous, meaning we produce it in our bodies. A lot of living beings produce it in their bodies, and it's easily digestible and very fast acting. So if you take DMT, you're gonna be out of this world within like 10 seconds, and then it's gonna last like 5 to 10 minutes, and then when you come back down though, you're gonna have like an experience that you can't even put down words. So that's what I would that's the way I would break it down for you. And the reason it's so well known is because it's just so crazy. Like if you take DMT, you're gonna shoot out of here very quickly. So there's research saying that it might be involved in very big, life transitions. For example, like birth. When you're born, DMT assists in that, and also in death. It also might be responsible for psychosis, schizophrenia, mystical experiences, and other spiritual states. Um, and also, from my experience, I think DMT is involved also with dreams. If your brain seems to produce DMT more often, it's probably a good sign of creativity and a more openness to basically your imagination, a higher receptivity to imagination. So my experience with DMT, I've taken it about 3 times, but I have not broken through. And I have had like out of body experiences, but I get sucked back in because my I don't smoke, don't know how to smoke, or at least when I took them I didn't, and so every time I took them, I wouldn't take enough. So you need to take a big hit in order to get out of here. Uh, so that didn't happen with me. Magic mushrooms and LSD. LSD and magic mushrooms have similar types of experiences. They're pretty similar. Some people describe a difference as that of earth versus electricity. Like mushrooms are the more earthy, grounded psychedelic, while LSD is kind of more electric. But I do think I don't know. I would say in my experience, they're pretty similar. Um, but I have experienced. I don't know if I have experienced. I think entities from both sides, from both ends. So I don't know. I'd say that that's just really up to personal experience. So my experience with LSD, I've taken LSD about I think I've definitely taken more than 2 times, but I think twice has been significant. Those were like significant trips, and then most of them have been solo trips. So my experience with LSD has been I lock myself in my room, make plans so that nobody bothers me for a good amount of time, 8 hours or something, and I just close my eyes and I go inwards. And that's how I've taken them. Excuse me. And they're very similar to mushrooms, as I said. And then my experience with mushrooms. So I think shrooms have been. I guess I have a better relationship with shrooms because they were the first psychedelic that I ever took, and then I've taken well over 10 trips, and I've guided around 3 trips, help people out. I've taken trips in a group setting, and then I've taken solo trips, and then I've even taken party trips. And I would recommend you don't take part trips or you don't trip at a party because that's just a waste of time. I feel like, in the sense that if you want to grow spiritually, you're not gonna take a psychedelic at a party or at a rave. If you want to grow serious, if you want to grow spiritually, you take it so you can look inwards, not so you can enhance the physical sensations. Okay. So, realizations from bad trips, I will say that I have had good and bad trips, and I want to go over, a quick understanding of what a bad trip would look like and how to avoid it and why it happens, so that you understand exactly how that works. So, setting, people always talk about this. you need to have a good environment where you're taking a psychedelic drug. If you don't, then it will lead to even more uncontrollable things. Like it's already pretty hard to control a trip. Like you're getting sent away very quickly. Now you have the power to choose a good space. You have the power to decide who you're taking it with, and also to decide consciously, like, hey, like I haven't really been like you know grounded lately, and by that I mean if you've been having like schizophrenic episodes and psychotic breakdowns, I wouldn't recommend that you take psychedelics because that will just enhance that even more. Because the way psychedelics works is it takes you out of the earth, and that's already kind of the thing with schizophrenia. It's like a person who's experiencing these who has these diagnoses or has these symptoms, they're already ungrounded. They don't really have a foundation to root themselves into the earth with. And when you take a psychedelic, it's just like even worse. Like what people need, if you're in that space, what you need is grounding, and what you need is a good practice and a good foundation and a good relationship with spirituality, and yourself. And if you don't have that, then you're gonna have a very hard time finding a place to center yourself from during a trip because it does get very rocky. Um, so certain things, your psychographic. Who are you? How old are you? What are your expectations? What are your beliefs? All of these things matter because if you're like a scientist and you're trying to put a label on everything that's going on during your trip, and you're trying to say, "Oh shoot, I'm dying," or I don't know, like I'm sick, I'm having a fever, I'm going into a psychotic breakdown, or all these things, it's gonna be very hard for you to go through the trip. Like you have to enter it with like kind of blank slate. You want to go blank slate basically, and if you do that, then you will your openness leads you connects you to your heart. So if you stay open, you stay grounded in your heart, then the trip can be you could always find a center. But if you don't, then for example, like phones, like don't be on your phone while you're tripping. Don't even have, if you can, like just turn it off, because then you're gonna be prone to calling people. I've already had it happen to me. Like it's never ended bad in terms of calling people, but I have had it for like with like taking a trip with a friend and he's calling like his girlfriend, and I'm like, no, you can't do that because then they don't know. The other person on the line does not know that you just took psychedelics, and not many people know how to deal with that situation. So make sure that you have clear expectations and clear boundaries of what you're gonna do, and what's gonna happen if X circumstance is gonna happen. Because if you don't, then it's gonna end up being a pretty bad trip. And people that you're tripping with too. Don't choose people that you don't like. Don't trip with people that it's just a basic thing. Also, if you trip with a person that's pretty anxious, you gotta know that that person is gonna have anxious tendencies during the trip. You're gonna have to help them get through that, or give them expectations or something. Like you have to read this book, Psychedelic Experience, is on the bottom. Because if you don't, then you're just gonna freak out. So they are avoidable. Bad trips are avoidable, and the main factor is it's a lot easier to control when it's just yourself. So you know yourself. If you know yourself, then you know what's going on, and you can center yourself. But if you're taking a trip with other people, they don't know themselves, and you don't know them, then it's gonna be very hard. So you guys have to have like good agreement on what's gonna happen. And I think the only times I've had a bad trip have been in group settings. So yeah, be very mindful of that. And also another thing that helps is to have a good meditation experience. If you meditate, you learn how to center yourself. You can find grounding through your breath, through your heart, and that'll help you get through the trip a lot easier. And so the reason I recommend the psychedelic experience is because the psychedelic experience is one of the best books I have read in terms of how to go through a psychedelic trip. And I think the reason is because he explains it so well. Like he explains, it is all psychological. He lists out all the symptoms, and he also makes a correlation. Timothy Leary makes a correlation that taking psychedelics is like dying, and that the Book of the Dead, he basically makes a correlation or a parallel with the Tibetan Book of the Dead, and he says that this book is actually made to facilitate the transition between life and death. So it's kind of crazy how it works like that. But yeah, psychedelics are kind of like it's an ego death experience. You get kind of dying. It's a very at least it's a very transformational experience. So at least having understanding of how transformation looks like and how transformation affects you, then you'll know going in there, and there's not you'll decrease that likelihood of having a bad trip. So solo trips, that's the best way to take them for spiritual growth and exploration. If you want to explore the universe and if you want to grow spiritually, you just do solo trips. And the way I've described it is, like I said, you set a time, just a window of time, like 6 to 8 hours if you're taking mushrooms, and you lay down, close out all the light, put yourself in a room, lay down, and even put a sleeping mask on and just go inwards. You shut your eyes, you shut all communication to the outside sensory world, and you go inwards into the spiritual world. And that opens you up to the inner reality. And the inner reality is very vast, very deep. And um, this has been one of the ways I've learned the most about myself, and I've learned the most about my soul in general. So that's what I would recommend for people. Just um, s- solo trips if you want to grow spiritually. Now, if you want to go on a group trips are like traveling to other places with friends. Your friends can make or break the trip sometimes. Like if they're not down, then it's lame. But if they are down, if everybody's down, if everybody's in sync, everybody's down committed, then it's gonna be a good trip. And if everybody does their homework too, because that part is essential. So extra stuff. Let me see really quick if there's. All right, just want to check really quick. Extra stuff. Um, telepathy, telepathy, and aliens. Let's go with aliens first. Um, so aliens, there's a lot of talk. I remember when I first started watching psychedelics, I was so into aliens. I want to know if there's extraterrestrials and what they want with us and how this works, how this whole universe, so vast, like what's going on. Well, I've had my fair share of encounters where with alien-like entities, and the way I've experienced it, they've been friendly. The typical story of like they put you on an operating table and they perform a surgery on you. That's real. At least in my circumstance, I can say that that's happened to me, and I've seen it happen. Uh, for example, one time I was tripping with my friend, and this is how I know it's real, and this because I wouldn't be speaking about this if this hadn't happened, but I was taking a trip with my roommate and my girlfriend, and it was us three. We were all just chilling, and we were going through, we are going deeper and deeper into this reality, and it's kind of like your vibration just raises higher and higher as you let go of the physical. And as we went up, we got to a place. We were in the spaceship, and there was like three alien-like figures looking at us, and we were like inside their spaceship, and one of them was like looking at my girlfriend and asking me if it was okay if he operated on her, and at first I was like, no, 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 we're gonna leave. And I was trying, and so I was I was the guide, and so I was going to leave that place, but they were telling me to calm down, and they were saying it's okay, we're gonna help her out. um we just want to help her out. And they had my friend over at the other, like in front of the other table, um, and they were operating on him. And so I let them operate on my girlfriend, and so it was kind of like a healing session. It seems like what they do, this whole operating thing, it's like they remove something from you. They remove, I don't know if it has to do with like a belief. I don't know if it has to do with a certain emotion or with trauma or with something. Like, I don't know, but they do remove something, and it's for, they know why they're doing it, and if they know, then it probably is gonna help us. I think, it's just blind faith at this point, but I've had it in my own experience. I had I can't say they were alien like entities, but I had another trip where there was a few entities that greeted me in this reality, and they seemed to be kind of like Earth like entities. They weren't outside of the Earth, but they were like spiritual Earth like entities, and they were operating on me, and they were removing some things. They removed like an object, like a spiritual object, out of they took it out of my body, and they were teaching me a lot of things about my chakras and then about just the way fear works and the way basically how to use my imagination to basically deal with my thoughts, to deal with the negativity. They were showing me all these things, so I can go deeper into that if you guys care to. And then telepathy. This is something that I've been trying to get this out there, and I want to talk about this because I know it's gonna happen in the future. But telepathy is real, and I need the world to know because it is real and it is going on at a very subconscious level that people don't understand. Some people think, I'm just a psychologist and I can interpret things. And like, yes, you're a psychologist and you have gained that skill, but that skill it's a skill. It's not a talent. And excuse me, it's happened where I've taken a trip with my friends, and they will confirm with me. Well, it would just happen. Like we would be speaking, and we'll be in the trip, and then we'll start talking, and I'll begin the sentence, and then my friend will finish that sentence, and he finished it. He finished what I was gonna say, because he knew what I was gonna say. And so it became this thing where I would say something, and then my other friend would say something, and then I'd finish that too, and then it would be hilarious because we were literally thinking the same thing and just speaking for no reason. Like at that point, you get to this point where you're like, whoa, like we don't need language. Like we already know what we can literally think, and I can think something, and my friend will get it, and he will understand it very clearly. And the way that works is, we are cut off from our subconscious. We aren't aware of just how our subconscious operates. And so when we are cut off, we're led to rely on our logical side of our brain, and that logical side is kind of responsible for language. So we communicate through language, and if you were and the way telepathy works is it works backwards. So it is a source, kind of like it gets to a source where language is very hard to formulate. It takes years to develop that kind of ability to speak, and even decades to just really become proficient at it. But for language, you have to the thought arises, the emotion arises, and then after the emotion arises, you begin to formulate a sentence, and you get into the coding of it, which is a language. But then there's other factors involved which have to do with like culture. Who are you talking to? Where you at? What time of day is it? Like like all of these things become a thing they become a part of the system, and so this thought keeps getting condensed into like through the system, and it comes out and it formulates a word or a statement, and now your friend who's listening to you, or the person who's on the receiving end, is listening to that, and then it's taking it and inputting it through their own system, and then trying to verify whether it's something that works with them, and then now it becomes like a thought or an emotion. And so great communication is really about emotion and emotion. Like, do you get what I'm feel? Like, do you get what I'm feeling, or like, do you get what I'm thinking? And then the other person is in agreement or not. Yes, I do. Or no, I don't. And when it doesn't work, then that's when conflict arises. But that's how language works, and it's very it's hard, it's difficult. But the way telepathy works is it just happens. I think it, and you get the thought because I'm pointing it towards you, and then we're experiencing the same thought. And not only that, this is how empaths get their thing, where I feel what you're feeling. Well, that's a form of telepathy. It's a form of like communication, and I've experienced it, and it's pretty hilarious when you're tripping. When it happens, it's like, okay, I wonder how it works when I'm sober and I'm thinking something and I don't want to say it, and I know that that person might, I don't know, maybe that person knows what I'm thinking, but there's so much like noise in between that we have to use language to get there. But I know that if scientists were to trip, if they were to study and test for telepathy, they would be able to find that. Oh shit. Hold on, I'm gonna turn on the light really quick. All right, I just turned on the light. I got a message. My lighting's pretty bad. But if scientists were to take a an experiment and take shrooms or psychedelics and test to see if they're thinking the same thought that the other person is thinking, then they would find that they'll be able to do it. That's just a theory that I have. So if there's somebody out there that is willing to try this out, try it out and see what happens. Okay, so then let's talk about imagination now. Imagination is what psychedelics talk like show about imagination is that imagination is the reality. Imagination is reality in the sense that if you were to look into what imagination means to humanity, it doesn't mean, at the deepest core, it doesn't mean something that isn't real or that's made up, because everything's made up. Everything came from our imagination. Your phone came from somebody's imagination. And if we get down to like religion or spirituality, we came from God's imagination. So all of creation is real, and all of creation came from that imagination. So when I speak about imagination, then I'm talking about the primal source of creation. And so what psychedelics do is they enhance your creativity. I mean, they enhance your imagination and they open your mind. So all that you see when you're in there is your imagination. Like all that you see when you're tripping is imagination. And it is your subconscious and it is a reality. So if you start tripping and you start seeing your internal world, that's the imaginative faculty being activated and also being expanded. And then another thing about dreams, so I talked about dreams. That was my last video I posted, but dreams enhance your psychedelic trips, and I'm gonna tell you how. So dreams work in two ways. They Through dream journaling, you gain the ability to recall your dreams. Right, the more you dream journal, the more you can recall what happened the night before in this otherworldly place. And the more you do that, the more you get used to recalling things from your imagination or from your soul, because that's when you're dreaming, your soul is kind of like you're out of your body and you're experiencing that in some other reality. And I'll probably just talk about that some other day, maybe next week, who knows. But when you're dreaming, you're experiencing um, a reality outside of your body. And when you're tripping, you're experiencing a reality outside of your body. So when you dream recall, then you're also in strengthening that muscle of basically out of body experience recall. So if you can recall your dreams, then maybe you can even get to the point where you recall like a past life. I don't know. That's a theory, but at least with psychedelics, it works because I've made comparisons with my friends, especially with my girlfriend. She doesn't recall as much as I do when it comes to tripping. Like she does recall some parts of the trip, but for me, I recall about 80% of the trip, while other people might only recall 20. And that's due to the fact that your imagination isn't as expanded. If you want to recall more, you expand your imagination. So you can do that through active imagination, which is a practice that Carl Jung came up with, or you can use it, or you can expand it through meditation, or you can expand it through visualization or dream journaling. Okay, so you do those things, and and so you're able to retain so much more from your trip, meaning that you can retain so much more lessons from your trip. And that's why that's how dreams help you. And then the second way dreams help you is that they allow you to trip a lot faster. So they get you to that higher point a lot faster. And why? I think it's just because your mind is already more open. You know, like let's say your mind is at this level, and and psychedelics take you over here. With dream journaling, your mind isn't here. It expands a little bit more like that. So then when you take psychedelics, it's less work. So it's less time, and it's I guess a deeper experience. So those are two ways dreams can affect your experiences. And um yeah, that's it. That's what I have for the presentation. At least I just wanted to make it something like short. If you are interested in learning more about psychedelics, I I don't know. My whole channel is based on spiritual growth. So if it's all connected. So if you start working on one area, it'll enhance the other. If you start working on your dreams, it'll enhance your psychedelic trips. If you start working on your meditations, it will help you out in your dreams, etc., etc. And so yeah, that's my experience for now. I don't know if you guys have any questions. Let me know. I'll wait a little longer. Um, see what's up. All right. I think I'm just gonna leave it like that. If just stay posted for next week. I didn't really talk much about it. Okay. Thank you, Product Fractal. Yeah, man. I haven't been posting on YouTube as I was saying. I'm going to keep posting at least live streams. I think it's a lot better just because I have so much knowledge. I want to get it out there, but I just don't know which sometimes. And I'm working on my business as a holistic healer, and it's just been kind of slow over here on the YouTube or social media end of things. But yeah, hopefully I can put more stuff out there for you guys. Um, every week, at least at this time, I'm gonna be posting it. There was a little hiccup. I couldn't get this live stream started. Um, I'm a noob, so it's gonna happen. But I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one. All right, stay lucid.